All right, folks, welcome back to Lakers Latest. I'm coming to you from Studio City, California, where it's sunny now, about 78 and sunny. It was a little overcast today, so, I see that too much in the LA in the summer, but, you know, take it. It's not too hot. You got to appreciate those days because it can get scalding hot in here in summer. But let's hop right into it. Let's talk Lakers. Let's talk everything that's going on, the top stories of the day. So let's hop right into it. Yesterday, there was a report that the Lakers had reached out to both the Timberwolves and the Grizzlies. The Timberwolves regarding potentially inquiring about Dante DiVincenzo, and the Grizzlies acquiring about bringing back former Laker legend, if you will, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. So first two things, I think, kind of we talked about yesterday, what would be the perfect trade acquisition. I wouldn't necessarily say that, either of those guys would be what you're looking for. I think Devo potentially could be. He's such a seamless fit. We saw, 2 seasons ago, he was unbelievable with the Knicks. Brought his game up to a completely different level that we had never seen in the NBA. He's a really good defender. He was a sharpshooter. He hit over 3 threes a game for the Knicks. Obviously, last year, moves into a bench role with the Timberwolves with Anthony Edwards there. He also started some games next to him. He had a really slow start last year. Did not get off to the best start, but really picked it up near the end. The playoffs, he was a little up and down, but he had a couple huge performances. He is a difference maker. He's a really good player. But we saw further detail that the Timberwolves basically rebuffed that. They don't have any interest in trading Dante DiVincenzo right now, which is understandable. Like I said, he is a really good fit on that team. We saw near the end of the season him develop a really strong relationship with Anthony Edwards, so that's not surprising. Who would I rather have? I would definitely rather have DiVincenzo if it was going to be one or the other, but obviously the Timberwolves rebuffed that, so it's not going to happen. Which brings us to KCP. Obviously, we know what KCP is capable of. It's not the same player he was when we won the championship, but this is still a guy that can come in, really sharp shooting, good shooter, going to play really good defense, kind of give you a little bit more of what you have with Marcus Smart from the defensive side of the ball, but give you much more consistent sharp shooting from that three-point level. And that's something that every team needs, not just the Lakers, but every team needs it, especially when you have Luka Doncic and LeBron James. You want to surround them with as many shooters as you possibly can. So, yeah, I think if you were going to have one, obviously it would be Devo, but KCP is a much more realistic option. With that being said, KCP, I think he's 466. He's got at least 15 or 16 a year. That's something that, if you really are going to make that jump, I just don't think that's enough. We talked yesterday about Wiggins. I think that would be a much more realistic option. Now, if you got traded for, say, KCP by using Vanderbilt or Kleber's contract and maybe throwing a couple second rounders or something, and then you get another play in addition to that, that could be something. But right now, yeah, I just don't think that KCP is going to be that guy that puts you over the top. He's a good player, and any team could use a guy like him. But given the fact that they basically rebuffed Debo, I don't really see him being the guy that puts you over the top. As much as we appreciate him, we love him. Former Lakers won a championship with the Lakers. Wouldn't say no to having him, but I think you need to do more than KCP, especially if DiVincenzo's off the table. So let's hop in the next thing. There was a report that came out yesterday that said that Dalton Connect's poor summer league performance has basically bumped his trade value down throughout the league. Going into the offseason, going into summer league, obviously he didn't have a very strong performance near the end of the season. There's a multitude of reasons for that. Obviously the Mark Williams trade, going through and then getting rebuffed and coming back, that's a strange situation that I don't think anyone really ever anticipates being in, especially not a professional athlete. So I can totally sympathize with him that that's a strange situation to be in. And obviously it was hard for him to get back to that level that we saw in November, December, because he just wasn't comfortable. It's a very strange thing. Like we weren't in it, but you could totally understand why that would be difficult for someone like Dalton Connect to get right back into it. But, you really wanted to see him come and improve, and you were really hoping, obviously, he had a very strong summer league last year. You were hoping to see more of the same. And unfortunately, we just didn't see that. He struggled a little bit in summer league. I don't know if, the role and everything that happened with the Mark Williams trade was leading up to that. I don't know if that's still hanging around in his head, but yeah, look, this is year 2, especially after what a strong performance he had in year 1. You don't want to see his poor performance that he had. I'll go in to summer league a little bit more in depth after this, but especially for a guy, 17 pick in the draft, was really good rookie, dominated summer league. You wanted to see him come in and kind of see more of the same from last year, dominate summer league again. And he had a couple good games, but for the most part, it was a very disappointing summer league performance for Dalton Connect. And it seems that the repercussions of that are that his trade value has gone significantly down throughout the league. And it seems like they're probably not going to be able to get a first for him. They're going to potentially have to package him in some deal if they want to get rid of him, or they can keep him and hope that he can bounce back to that player that we saw early last season and that we know he can be. But it's not what you want to hear if you're the Lakers. It's just not, because obviously this Marcus Smart deal is great. It's really going to help the team. But like I said yesterday, they need an ulterior move to take them to that next level. I think right now, Rockets, Thunder, and Nuggets are pretty clear set at the top three in the West, and they Lakers still need one more move to get them there. And when Dalton's Connect trade value is going down, it's just not what you want to see. It's not ideal, especially because naturally you would have thought, probably assuming you want to keep Reeves, you want to keep obviously all your best players. He was probably the guy, that the young player on the roster that you say any team would look for when they're trying to trade with the Lakers. I think any big trade will probably have to be done around Rui, unless somehow you can package up Kleba and Vanderbilt or Vincent's contract and send it out to someone, potentially kind of like I talked yesterday with the Blazers. But yeah, it's not ideal what you want to see. Here's what I will say about Summer League. Even when players have poor performances in Summer League, that is not indicative of the player they're going to be. That does not mean because they played poor in Summer League, they're now going to be bad players. Like, there's a ton of guys. The one guy that comes to mind for me is Jalen Brunson. He was a little up and down in Summer League. Like, he had some very, very poor Summer League games, and you would think, oh, this guy's too small. He's not going to be good in the NBA. And, 7-8 years later, he's a top 10 player in the NBA. He's unbelievable, arguably the best point guard in the NBA. Well, depending on if you think Luke is, but he's just one example. I'm not saying obviously he's going to be as good as Jalen Brunson, but that's just one example of you can play poor in Summer League and you can still figure it out. It doesn't necessarily mean you're pigeonholed into this player of like, you play poor in Summer League, you're not going to be a good NBA player. No, I mean, a lot of the times, obviously, that can happen, but it does not guarantee that you're going to be a poor NBA player whatsoever. With that being said, obviously, Connect having a poor Summer League is not what the Lakers were looking for. And I think hearing that his trade value's down is not ideal either. But I do think that there's a team out there that definitely values what he brings to the table, and most likely thinks that if they get him in a better environment, that he can significantly up his playing and his playing time, which I think definitely could happen. But right now, that's definitely not what you want to see. So let's transition into Summer League since we're already talking about it. Obviously, the top performers we just talked about, Connect. It's not a very good Summer League, not what you want to see. Now that I have the numbers in front of me, look at it. He only averaged 10 points a game, shot 27% from the field, shot 23% from three. I mean, like, that's terrible. Like, we're not talking about, like, I should have had his numbers from last year. I wish I could compare them because he was great last year. But those are terrible numbers, like horrendous. So that's just not ideal. It's not what you want to see. But I think looking at the other two guys, obviously the couple of guys to me that stood out, I'll just start talking about Bronny because obviously that's going to be the first thing on everyone's mind. Everyone wants to know Bronny this. Makes sense. Bronny did play well. I thought for the most part he was pretty solid. He had a couple up and down games, but he was much improved from last Summer League. You really saw him take the steps using his athleticism to his advantage, both offensively and defensively. The shot still was, a little up and down. I think he only shot 30% from three. So still, not what you want to see, especially knowing he was more of a shooter coming into the NBA. But it is Summer League. But overall, Bronny played four games, 14.3 points, 47% from the field, 30% from three, 2.8 rebounds, 3.8 assists, 4 turnovers. But again, it's Summer League. But look, if you compare that to what we saw last year from him in Summer League, it's a huge improvement. You love to see it. Now, I don't think Bronny has a spot on this team. I don't know if he's going to get any minutes unless multiple players get hurt, especially with the Marcus Smart addition. But it's still what you want to see. There's still some hope that even after LeBron retires, maybe he can be a guy that develops into a rotation piece. The athleticism's certainly there. The defense is there. He wants it. So right now, I still don't see him having a part in this Lakers rotation, but it's still a strong showing, much improved from last year, and it's definitely what you want to see moving forward. Now, another guy that stood out was Christian Koloko to me. Not great, not going to be too great offensively, but defensively, I think he had 6 blocks one game, 4 blocks. He's a really talented defensive player. We saw the Lakers just signed him, I'm pretty sure, to a 2-way. Excuse me. And pretty much basically, he's a guy that could give you defensive minutes. And I think that obviously you're going to need to play Aiden, who's not a strong defender. He's a talented offensive player. You're going to need to find other ways to protect the rim. And Koloko is a guy who, I'm not expecting him to get 15, 20 minutes a game, but I do think he can pinch in and help defensively because I think that's his ticket to the NBA. Overall, though, I think anyone that watched Summer League knows there was one player that stood out above the rest. That wasn't Bronny. That wasn't Koloko. That was Cole Schwider. Overall, 5 games, he averaged 17.6 points, 45% from the field, 40% from 3, 7 rebounds a game, 3.5 threes a game. This is a guy that got NBA minutes last year. Granted, not too much, was more garbage time minutes, but this is a guy that does have an NBA talent. He has a clear talent in shooting. He's a very good shooter. He's 6'8". He has good size. So when you're looking for people that are going to play next to Luka Doncic, that are going to play next to LeBron James, that maybe can interchange to a 3-4. He's a guy that potentially could fit the mold. And every team, I said it before, every team's always looking for shooting. You say it all the time. You can never have enough shooters. You just can't. You can never have enough. So I think Schwider has absolutely earned himself, obviously, a training camp invite. I think he has a solid chance of making the team. He might not be a guy that gets minutes right away, but he is a guy who I absolutely could see getting legitimate minutes this year, especially if someone gets hurt. You look, guys that you want to fit next to Luka and LeBron, you obviously want to have athletic guys, but you want to have shooters. You want to have as many shooters as possible, and I think he's a guy that, especially with his shooting stroke and his size, he could certainly fit into the rotation at some point. Probably not right out the gate. He probably won't be a significant contributor, but I think out of all the guys we saw in Summer League, he's the guy where you're like, okay, I could see him potentially playing a little bit with that shot, with that size. Those are things that any NBA team needs. Those are positions where teams are always looking for. So he's a guy, definitely to me, the top performer in Summer League, and a guy that, if he keeps working hard, has a good training camp, has a good preseason, I do think he could potentially push his way into the rotation. Again, he's not going to be like a 6-man, but could potentially be a solid piece of the rotation. So yeah, I think those are the top performers in Summer League, and yeah, we'll keep an eye on them. We'll keep an eye on Bronny. We'll keep an eye on Schwider, and we'll see how they develop throughout the year. So let's get to the final talk today, which is the Wild West. The West is going to be crazy this year, guys. Like it's absolutely insane. Right now, as it constitutes, I think the Lakers are probably somewhere in that 5, 6, 4 to 6 range. Probably closer 5 to 6. Right now, I think, to me, the Thunder, the Rockets, and the Nuggets have almost differentiated themselves. To me, those are the clear-cut top 3 teams in the West right now. The Nuggets nearly were the only team that really gave the Thunder a run last year in the playoffs, and they just traded MPJ for Cam Johnson, who's a much better fit. I think he's a better player at this point in his career. They brought Bruce Brown back. They traded for Jonas Valanciunas. Whether he plays for them, that's still yet to be determined. But if he does, that's the best backup big they've ever had for Nikola Jokic. So they're going to be really good. The Thunder, the defending champions, we know how good they are. The Rockets were the number 2 seed last year. They just added Kevin Durant. And then you still got the Warriors. You still got the Grizzlies. And then the Lakers, the Clippers. Those are the top. I think those 3 teams. And then you kind of have Warriors, Lakers, Clippers, Grizzlies in that 4 to 7 range. Right now, I think the Lakers are better than the Grizzlies. I think I would probably give them the slight edge over the Warriors, but at the same time, it's very close, especially how good the Warriors were playing last year once they got Jimmy before Steph got hurt in the playoffs. It's very close. Like those 4 to 7 it's such nitpicky. Obviously, the Clippers just got Bradley Beal and Chris Paul. They would absolutely be the number 1 team in the West. This was like 2015. Unfortunately for them, it's not. It's 2025. So they're still going to be very solid. Obviously, those guys can still play, but given the fact that they're older, you're 1 injury away. Kawhi could, hurt his eyelash and be out 2 months, as great as he is. So the thing is, you never know with the Clippers. Like, yes, on paper, the Clippers look great, but on paper, the Clippers have looked great for the past 10 to 12 years, excluding a couple of seasons. They never get it done when it matters, ever. We can talk about the Lakers losing the first round, but at least won the championship in 2020. Like, you have that vindication. The Clippers just never come through in the playoffs, ever. They didn't with Chris Paul. They haven't with Kawhi. They haven't with Paul George. I don't see that changing. So But still, you're kind of lumped in that 4 to 7 range. I think if you trade for a guy like Wiggins, or maybe a guy like Drew Holiday, I think that could probably put you in that 4 range right behind those 3 teams and really give you a chance of potentially stealing a series versus one of those top 3 teams. But you have to have that next step. There has to be that next trade. Because right now, I think it's those top 3 teams in the West, and then 4 to 7 could go any which number of ways. But the Lakers are one trade away from, I think, locking in 4 and breathing down the neck of the other guys there. But it just has to happen. Right now it's July 22nd. Training camp will start probably first, it's probably second, third week. I think it's second week of September. So naturally, you would think that if they're going to do any trades, it would happen before then. But I don't know. We'll see. Karl-Anthony Towns got traded to the Knicks at like the end of September last year. It was out of nowhere. So you never really know in the NBA. That's one of my favorite things about it. Anything can happen at any given time. But I do think that if they are going to do it, we'll probably see it happen sometime before September, because I think Rob wants to get the team fully ready, locked in, and ready to go for training camp and for the preseason, regular season. But yeah, that's what we have today, folks. Obviously, a lot going on. There's going to be plenty more that happens in the offseason. But today, we covered everything we need to, and we will keep an eye on everything else that happens in Lakerland in the coming days and weeks as we get excited for another great season of Lakers basketball. All right, folks, till next time.